I don't know, God was just fucking everybody. I take a photo. Oh, my God, everything. Yeah!
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Strap in and hold on tight. You just bought a ticket on a flight without a pilot. The Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show with the BS Boys is about to clutter up the internet airwaves once again. Yeah. Here they are. The broadcast crew that is Mayhem Behind the Mic. The BS Boys.
Yes, hello and welcome to another version of the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show. We are the BS Boys, the broadcast crew that puts the zippity and the doo-dah-day and the ah in the aha. Yep, you ventured into Mayhem Behind the Mic live from Felony Flats right here in Portland, Oregon. It's a black pit where you will never escape. Well, except if you click out of the page, which is always a possibility. You have that option as you listen to us to click out of the page. Yeah, we're a few minutes late going live. We were sitting here doing the headbanger thing. If we had hair, we would have been whipping it all around the room, but we don't. But we like to pretend we had hair.
Yeah, that was some real exciting music. High energy, drop kick Murphy.
Yeah, what'd you call him before we went live?
Drop dead Murphy. Yeah. Hey,
you got 2 out of the 3. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's
2 out of the 3, and yeah, I would love to see those guys live. They have got to be a blast.
You know what? I don't think people our age should go there. I mean, they have the mosh pit, and they're jumping off the stage, and people are catching them, and people are banging into each other, and with the density of our bones, we'd probably come out of there with broken legs and arms and wrists and everything else. Oh, it was hips, giggling all the way out. Yep, it is the pre-St. Patrick's Day show, hence the old Irish entrance. Of course, you know, Special Greg and me, the Irish Pirate, I mean, we couldn't pass up a chance to throw some Irish music out there. You know, the whole St. Patrick Day thing, real quick, then we'll get into the whole hockey thing.
Yeah. Little history lesson?
Well, yeah, kind of. It's a lot of Americans think corned beef and cabbage is the traditional Irish meal. It's only really over here that people eat it. They don't eat it over there.
What do they eat over there?
Well, it's usually pork. Corned beef is actually a really cheap piece of meat over there. And a lot of people back in the day, and we're going back to the plague, they couldn't afford beef. All the beef was spoiled. So they were using pork.
And a lot of potatoes.
A lot of potatoes. Yep. A lot of spuds over there. So the corned beef and cabbage is not Irish at all.
It's Americanized.
It is. It's like the American Irish version of the St. Patrick's Day meal. They actually have like eggs and pudding, a lot of soda bread over there.
And a Guinness?
Yeah, well, I'm sure they do now, but back in the day, no. They were drinking what's called poachine, which is the equivalent to moonshine. And my great uncle, I think he's still alive. Last time I checked, he was like 105.
Good Lord.
But he still lives on the family farm, and he still brews the spirit, I guess we can call it.
Poachine?
Poachine.
Poachine.
Yeah, and the St. Patrick's thing and snakes, there were never snakes in Ireland. St. Patrick did not drive the snakes out of Ireland. There weren't any to drive out. The snakes, they sort of, it was more when he was trying to convert the island to Christianity, it was all the Druids that he was trying to drive out of Ireland so he could turn it into a Christian state. And hence the snakes were more symbolically the Druids.
The Druids, yeah.
Yeah, so there were no snakes over there. How about that? Yeah, there's history right there.
I appreciate that history lesson. I hate snakes. I hate even talking about. I hate even looking at them on TV.
Not a big snake fan at all. No, snakes are not good. So there you go.
Yeah, whoa.
Whoa.
Double thing that you don't like: snakes on a plane.
That would be my first name. And dwarf clowns.
Dwarf clowns.
That's another freaky one to me.
Gosh.
Some people are freaked out by dolls. I'm not a big fan of dwarf clowns, which means if I go to the circus, I have to close my eyes when the little dwarf clowns come out because I just freak out.
Do you really?
It's not good.
I would love to see that. I got to get that on camera.
No, that'd be bad. We're taking a road trip. We're taking a road trip on Saturday. We are heading down to Medford to watch the game 2 of the Spartan Mustang game.
Yeah, it should be a good time. We'll be hanging out with Tom and Dave down there,
yep.
up on the crow's nest, I guess you can call it.
Up high. We're got the best seats in the house. So we're going down there this Saturday.
Yep.
Watch a game.
Be there bright and early.
Well, not real bright and early. I'll be sleeping in.
Well, 4:30 in the afternoon. That's kind of early. That's about 3 hours before game time.
It's not even early.
That's about what time we get over to Vancouver when we're broadcasting.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
No. It's a long way. So, we're going to be in Southern Oregon this Saturday night.
Looking forward to it.
Hanging out in fasthockey.com with other boys down there. NORPAC, they're already well into their Cascade Cup finals. And so the A-Dub is 2 games into their first round. So the NORPAC, kind of a surprise. Eugene got swept in the first round by Bellingham.
Glacier got swept too. So we had 2 sweeps to start the first round. Not going to be a sweep this one.
No. They are 2 games into the Cascade Cup finals, and it's knotted up 1 game apiece. And if we backtrack a little bit, kind of filling us into look at the game sheets.
Yeah. So first round, we'll start out with Bellingham and Eugene. First game was on Friday the 8th. Bellingham took that 4-1, and then West Sound Glacier. West Sound won 4-3, and then.
Here we go again.
Friday night, Wednesday night. Here we go. Wednesday night. Then we had Bellingham taking Eugene.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, we'll start over. So
Bellingham
and Eugene played on Wednesday the 6th. Bellingham won 3-0, and then West Sound took Glacier 6-3, and then Bellingham finished the first round off by beating Eugene 4-3. Up in Bellingham, and then West Sound 5-1.
Glacier, against
Glacier. Yeah.
Okay, so if that confused everybody,
they were. Yeah.
I don't know why you don't sort of pre-read that before.
Well, I did pre-read it, Steve.
That bad?
Yeah. Well, normally I would start. I would start with the games, the first games up top, but I get it. Yeah. So then the finals we have. The first game was on Tuesday the 12th. As kind of a surprise, Bellingham shut West Sound out 3-0. And then last night, West Sound won 2-1 in OT.
They did.
And Cody Foster, first loss last night. He's been just playing outstanding.
Oh, the kid's on fire right now. And, that was his first loss. I want to go back real quick, though.
Yep.
We had a back on last Friday on the 8th, Game 3, West Sound was over in Glacier, and it was tied 3-3, deep into the third, way into the third.
Almost at the end of the game.
And we've seen some of the footage, and a penalty shot is called with 25 seconds left to go in the game. Peter Mingus gets a penalty shot. It's tied 3-3. Glacier's down 2-0.
And who scored all the goals?
So you have Mingus that gets the penalty shot. Prior to that, Mingus had scored 3 goals, all the goals for West Sound. Peter Mingus tallies. Boom. Game over, basically. 25 seconds left to go. Peter Mingus scores on a penalty shot. I kind of hate to see a series end that way, but, I mean, it was a legitimate penalty. I really, truly believe it. It had to have been called, and it was mano a mano. And Peter Mingus going in against Tyson and just put a move on him and basically scored in an open net. So Peter Mingus, 4 goals in the Game 3 of the first round.
Peter Mingus show that night.
Yeah, and he's he's from Eugene, actually, if you consider Eugene local.
Well, it's an hour and a half from here, and he did play for Eugene, I think, 1 year. And he played for Jay Miller that year, I believe.
I believe so, and it was a huge attendance, 782 people at Glacier to watch that game. And the way I kind of know it wasn't a bad call is Yoakum didn't jump up and down going nuts over it.
Yeah.
I think he knew that it was a legitimate, call.
But, I mean, 25 seconds ago, it's got to be an obvious call.
I felt so bad for the goalie. I really did. Once the goal, the puck went in, and the kid just dropped to the ice, and he just felt so bad about the whole thing. So I think that, I guess that's one way of ending the first round. But West Sound's not bad. Bellingham is a big surprise. I think they caught, West Sound kind of flat-footed by beating them 3-0 in the first game of the finals.
Yeah, West Sound lost that first game at home too. Shut out.
Not a common occurrence. So this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. We're going to see how this whole thing kind of pans out with NORPAC. The interesting thing is Bellingham being an expansion team. West Sound's only been, this is their second year since kind of moving away from the Puget Tomahawks. Yeah. So we have basically an expansion team, not a new team in West Sound, but sort of a new regime with Jay Miller up there taking the control. So whatever happens, there will be a new Cascade Cup champion since Southern left and, with Seattle to the Western States. Wouldn't it be something? I'm not saying this is going to happen. If Bellingham actually won the Cascade Cup as a first-year expansion team?
Well, would it be something? Yeah, it would be a good win for Bellingham. Mark Collins' first year with the team up there, and considering his comments a couple of weeks ago when we talked to him that they didn't get started until late too.
Yeah, very
recruiting.
late.
Not as late as the Vancouver Victory, but they had a late start in the recruiting effort. But with his contacts, he was able to, pull in some good people, get some kids from Canada, and did a really good job putting that team together. And not only putting it together, but getting those kids to work together as a team.
Cody Foster right now having an amazing second season right now. He's 4-1, 1.15 goals against, 96% save average. We had mentioned it before in the last show, and Mark Collins had mentioned this to us before. He was waiting for one of the guys to step up. Just waiting. Who was going to take the lead? And lo and behold, Cody Foster, it's mine. I'm going to take it. And he's showing it right now.
He is. And, I think they're going to, unless something drastic happens, they're going to be sticking with him through the rest of this series here.
Yeah, I think so. Right now, they're both 4-1, Bellingham and West Sound. On the kind of the special team thing, Bellingham is clicking at a 95% penalty kill in the playoffs.
That's pretty good, especially against the team that they're playing, too, with how well they did this year.
Well, if you look at it, power play, West Sound is number 1 on the power play going against the number 1 PK team. West Sound's 20% on the power play, and Bellingham's 95 on the PK. So you've got a great matchup here. I don't think you could have asked for a better matchup.
With these two teams, Bellingham, West Sound?
Well, out of anybody, whether it was Glacier or Eugene or anybody, I think these two teams are very well matched, very even. Mason Wade is really stepping up. He's got 4 goals so far in the playoffs. Derek Davis is stepping up. Cody Rich has 6 points in the playoffs. So all the guys that were sort of leading them to this point have continued to play. Over on the West Sound side, they've got some guys putting up some points again. Tweetmeyer's got 5, and Kai Wilkins has got 5 points. Pijanowski's got 3. So a lot of the guys that were playing well at the end of the season for West Sound playing well again in the playoffs.
Yeah, McGinnis with 5 as well. They're really spreading it out there.
Wierzak playing very well. Wierzak's a pretty big kid. He's 6'3", 170. He's 4-1 in the playoffs, 2.15 goals against, and 93, call it 94% save average.
Yeah, what coach isn't going to take an average of that?
Goals that's a great average. Yeah. I mean, you're really looking at 2 goalies that are trying to establish themselves, and they're going head-to-head. It's 1-1 right now. The game Friday night is up in Bellingham, 7:35 puck drop on Fast Hockey. So if you want to tap in and watch it's a pivotal game right there.
Well, I think Bellingham's got the upper hand in this at home, their first home game in the playoffs and the finals. West Sound's got to come in and stay focused and play their game. If they don't play their game, Bellingham is going to step up and take that game on Friday night.
And they got 2 games back-to-back up there, Friday, Saturday. So if Bellingham really brings it, they could finish it Saturday night at home in front of their crowd, expansion team. It could be exciting.
Well, we won't be watching that one live on Fast Hockey, but we'll be keeping track of it on Point Streak.
Yeah, well, someone will.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will. I don't think we're going to have much control down there. So a lot of stuff going on in NORPAC. No matter what happens, brand new champion this year. The winner of this actually will go to Nationals back at Rochester and to represent NORPAC.
Yep, and one team from each league this year. I think there's a total of 8 teams total.
We're going to talk to AJ Reis, because we're going to go ahead and try to get AJ on the phone here just in a few minutes, and AJ can kind of explain the way the whole playoff thing is going on. But I like the format. Only 8 teams get to go instead of 2 or 3 from each league, or a minimum of 2. It's the league winners actually going to play for the championship. The Atlanta Knights won it last year with we actually have a local connection. Brendan Haase was a goalie on the Atlanta Knights. He didn't play in any of the games, but he got a ring.
He did, but he has been playing a lot this year.
Yeah, he's kind of the guy this year, so it'll be kind of fun to see, number one, if Atlanta makes it to the Nationals, but it's also really good to see that only 8 teams are going. So that's kind of a good thing, too.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch in probably 3 to 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's the beginning of April.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, we're certainly stay on top of all that and carry the show all the way through the Nationals and explain everything going on there. So we are going to take a quick break here. Why? Because we're going to try to get AJ Reis on the phone.
Call us.
That ought to be a lot of fun. No, we'll call him and let him know to call us. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart, right here, Felony Flats. And the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show. We're back in just a bit.
Welcome back to the State of Confusion. And your hosts, as they are confused themselves, the BS Boys.
If that music does not get your heart pumping, I don't know what will. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, fun band.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. Real quick, story about. It's not a Motley Crue story, but it's more of a Tommy Lee story. I was actually working with his wife on a film at the time he was married to Heather Locklear. And my son Sean was probably, 6 months old, 7 months old. And I took Sean with me to the film set. Because as I remember that show, I was actually jumping a pickup truck over a drawbridge as it was going up. And I needed someone to watch Sean while I went off and wrecked this, Dodge Ram truck.
This was obviously in town here.
Yeah, downtown Portland. And so the only person I could find to take care of Sean was Heather Locklear. And so here Heather Locklear is babysitting, Sean, who is now 21, but he was 7 months at the time. And on the show as well was another woman, one of my all-time favorites, was Cloris Leachman.
Oh.
And Cloris Leachman became his adopted godmother from that point on. And it was just a great time. Well, Heather and I are sitting between shots in this bar, which we have as a staging area. And in comes Tommy Lee.
No kidding.
Surprised everybody. Didn't know he was coming up. And I'm sitting there with his wife, hottie wife. And here's Tommy Lee. I'm going, oh, my God, this is like a stick figure meth addict. And he's going to just kill me.
Did he have all the tats and everything back then, too?
It was in his Mohawk days. Yep. Yeah, he had the Mohawk, and he's got tats all over the place. And I'm telling you, he came up and sat down, and one of the nicest guys ever.
Yeah.
If you look at someone's appearance and make your judgment off of that, you're cutting yourself short, man, because you're missing a lot of great people out there simply because they look the way they do.
You can't judge a book by its cover.
You really can. And he was a great guy. So that was my Tommy Lee story. Hung out for hours talking to him about, music and books and movies and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's my Tommy Lee story. So on the line right now, actually, believe it or not, probably I can only imagine this guy was air guitaring to that Motley Crue song.
Engaging the air guitar.
Which is really what you don't want to see.
In a probably a lounger, too.
Or a leopard leotard. One or the other. AJ Reis on the line right now. AJ, you there?
I am. Good evening.
How are you, man?
Oh, not bad. Yeah, I'm actually, you got to go really far back in the Crue thing for me. I'm the old Crue guy, versus Dr. Feelgood and all that. So
there you go. Yeah,
hate to date myself, but hey, that power guitar, that's just me.
It's all you. And actually, that was probably back when Vince Neil was only taking one drug compared to the 15 he's probably taking now. He's in the hospital, though.
Maybe one drug at a time.
One drug. Well, yeah. One at 5, one at 6, one at 7, one at 8. That's the way we go.
How are you guys?
We're doing well,
Good.
man. We're doing awesome. A-Dub, man, 2 games into the first round already. Helena's got a 2-0 lead up on Missoula. Expected or not? What was your thinking prior to going into that first round with Missoula?
Kind of pretty similar to where we're at, and not in the win state,
Yep.
as far as that, but more like the first game 1, 3-2 double OT. Both sides had numerous chances to just put it away, and just that style of game. Yellowstone Gillette, I thought it to be a little closer than the games have been, but I mean, Yellowstone's really a quality team.
Yellowstone's giving you guys fits this year, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. They beat us the last 2 times out on our ice. Just a good team, a well-coached team. They execute well. And really, when you look at all 4 of these teams, it's interesting. Gillette's kind of a surprise, just in the fact that, their top defenseman, Miller, he took a concussion 3-4 games left in the season, and he isn't in the lineup. And I think we all know the value of a number 1 defenseman. But but either way, they've fallen off somehow. But I think you've got the 4 teams with the 4 best coaches in our league, and anything can happen here.
That's what the playoffs are all. The best teams should make it to the playoffs. I want to pop back to game 1. Lazarski, what a stud in that game.
He just battled. Him and Jansen just battled.
I love the way Cody Jansen plays, and the watching this, there were so many opportunities in the first OT and the second OT to put it away, and the goalies just took center stage.
Absolutely. And Alec just battles, and Alec isn't. He's not an ugly goaltender. When you watch him play by any sense, but he's got to compensate in a few different ways. He's not quite as big as others, or like Salinas or those guys, but he earned that start. He truly earned that start.
Late in the season, Lazarski really kind of stepped up, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did.
And is that why you guys kind of went with them in the first round here?
We're of the belief that with goalies, actually with everybody, the 20 guys who start are the 20 guys who practice the best that week.
There you go.
And Alex seemed to have a little bit of an edge, and so we went ahead and gave it to him. And I won't even say we. That was Coach Cunningham. That was his choice. When it comes down to goalies, he'll take a lot of input from myself and Bussy as well. But when it comes down to goalies, that's him. That's absolutely his choice.
Well, both coaches made some good decisions on the goalie position in the first game. 95 shots for Helena. 65 for Missoula. Amazing amount of shots in that game.
But how accurate, AJ, is that 95?
That's not. And we had, I hope not to offend anybody with this, but we had a little come to Jesus meeting with our staff after that game. We had one a couple of weeks ago where they put down, we had 43 shots on a team in one period. And that was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous.
Wow.
And so we think we've corrected the problem. But going back and reviewing it, we feel we had 74 legitimate shots. But that's 4.5 periods of hockey, and we'll put some shots on some guys, and that makes sense. But either way, Jansen, come on. I had a guy, a Tier 2 coach, call me actually yesterday, and we were just talking about players in the A-Dub and guys to keep an eye on, and he goes, what would you think having Jansen and Salinas in the lineup in Tier 2? How would you feel? I'd feel pretty good. The other thing to keep in mind is Corpus just about destroyed Jet early on this year.
Yep, remember that, yep.
It's mentally it's been a tough road back for Jet, and it really didn't show in the numbers just because he's so technically sound, but they did exactly what you would think that somebody at the next level wouldn't do with him. Just thrust him out there and said, well, here you are, you need to save us from the opening gate. And the flip side, the other part of that is Jansen's a 96. And But both those kids, they have no business playing Tier 3 next year. They're both phenomenal.
Well, Jansen being so young also, he's got great. I mean, yeah, he's 0-2 right now, which whatever. I don't really the 3.28 goals against again. That's going to be a team stat. The kid's rocking a 94% save average, and is a 96 at this level. Now, didn't he get a look? Was it the Brandon Weekings that looked at him?
Yeah, the Wheaties. The Wheaties are all over that kid. He was the last goalie cut out of the Wheaties camp, which is for a 96. And granted, I mean, you're talking about WHL. I'm sure they were going to keep him as a 3 and ease him along, and they went ahead and cut him loose and really. And I've told the story before. He actually, when he came down to the States, he came to our camp in June, and we passed on him, and not on his ability. It was a tough decision. We had committed to our 2 Swedes already prior to that camp, so our imports were locked up. And he's a kid who wants to play in the States, and that's the one thing is the Wheaties are interested. But this is a kid, a farm kid, who wants to play in the States, and maybe he might look at BC League or something like that, but he wants to go to university here in the States. That's where he's at right now. I should say that's where he was at then. Now I don't know where he's at today, whatever it is.
Is he on the protected list for Brandon? We lost AJ. He must have been roaming. You know, his place is actually it's huge. He could have been like in the back 40 somewhere plowing. And
on his tractors? On one of his tractors?
Well, no, on his hybrid tractor. That's why we didn't hear it. It's run by corn oil.
Corn oil.
Yeah. So AJ may be on the back 40 doing whatever he is doing. We're going to try to go ahead and reconnect with him real quick.
Do you want me to call him?
Yeah, call him. Cody Jansen, 96 kid, and we're going to see if AJ picks up here real quick. Rocking between the pipes right now for Missoula.
There he is.
Hey, you back? You back again?
Are you going to tell me that I've been talking to myself for how long?
Well, you cut out, and then I'm sitting there trying to ask you a question, and then you came back in, and then it was kind of like gone.
Yeah, we what we heard was
something 9 months.
Yeah, about college. Yeah, that he wanted to go to university down here in the States.
Have you been talking since that point?
Oh, me? Of course I have. Come on, I'm trying to get my AWHL 45 in.
So you're sitting there talking on the phone. You're not hearing us talk, which is unusual, and you didn't think anything was wrong. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, you know me well enough. There's a lot.
Okay, that was dumb.
So let's get back to this.
Well, then to finish that up, basically I was just saying that there's a kid. His intentions when we talked to him last, which was again last June, was to play university here in the States, and I don't know if that's changed or not for Cody, but the other thing I was leading into was the fact that his numbers, a couple people have asked me, Tier 2 guys asking about him, and said, well, his numbers took a little bump down the stretch. And quite honestly, Baum, their other goalie, went down. Jansen has to carry the load because their other goalie's a backup, emergency backup, so he can't go in if he falters. And Missoula's banged up.
Yeah.
He's been banged up, and so he is really, when you put it all together, and Missoula just cannot catch a break this year. They really can't, and I don't know if they were tired or what the deal was, and that would be natural to be tired. He only has 19, 20 guys he can go with on game 2, but as far as goalies go, Jansen he's just an incredible kid, super nice and cordial and respectful. Couldn't ask for any more.
Well, we talked about his numbers back in the Bighorns. Lazarski actually not too bad, 1.38, I do believe, 97% save average, and then you have Salinas coming in and rocking a shutout in game 2 in Missoula. How tough is that?
Awesome. That's hostile territory.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun there.
How could that not be fun?
If you can keep those guys quiet, that's a pretty good night.
Yeah, and Salinas, those guys kind of bounce back and forth, but I do remember us talking about, when Jet took off and he went to the NA and they sort of threw him to the Wolves and he came back maybe a little mentally beat up and didn't come back probably the same goalie that you sent down there.
No, and that's, like I alluded to before, that's the thing that saves Jet when he first came back is the fact that he's just so positionally strong. just technically he's uncanny for this level, and some problems in the head, and some guys need hugs, some guys need kicked in the boys, and Jet needs hugs.
Yeah.
And so it's been a little bit of a road back, and there's been a couple of setbacks along the way, and some family advisors blowing smoke up the hoop, and when reality sets in, that's what it is. And next year, Jet will get another legitimate chance to make a run at it, and I think he's learned some lessons, and he'll do the best he can.
Well, he's got pretty good numbers.
Wherever he ends up is good enough with just a heck of a kid, just a quality kid.
And he's a big kid, too. He's 6'180". I mean, he's got good size. He could certainly play at the next level as long as, and you hit it right in the head. A coach really needs to know when to push and when to pull back, when to hug and when to kick. And if you go the opposite, especially with a goalie, you're really going to get in their head. And this family advisor thing, come on.
It's a joke.
It is a joke. Who needs that?
Yeah, people, go ahead and throw your money away. Pick up the phone and call whoever, and you can get the same thing for free. So
call the coach. Call people. That's a parent's responsibility. Don't dish it off to your family advisor taking care of your son's career at this level. That's stupid.
Well, there's a gentleman out of Canada that I've ordered a book last week that talks about things like family advisors, all these different camps that these people want to send their kids to, and just the cost and the amount of money that people are spending for this. And I think it was when we had Mike Butters on here quite a few weeks ago, he was the one that kept saying it's the parent's responsibility to start asking these tough questions. Ask the coach the tough questions. Ask the GM, the owners, and the assistant coaches the tough questions. You can't walk away and just think that you're going to be able to put your kid wherever you want and good things are going to happen. You've got to ask everybody the questions along the way.
Maybe it's easier to blame somebody else if it doesn't work. Oh, it's the family advisor's fault.
And really, if and you hear it all the time anymore, if a kid can play, chances are pretty good he's going to play. If he can, and I mean that as far as playing at the highest level possible for him. In this day and age, not much skates through. Now, you do have the odd case where, for whatever reason, a kid decides to stay and play. Maybe it's his comfort level, and I've always said we've been pretty fortunate to have some good teams and some outstanding players in the past. But if they get to be 19, 20 years old and they're really a skilled kid, on the edge of being able to play Tier 2, well, there's a reason they're playing Tier 3, and whether it's you name it, it could be, generally it's usually mental, but it could be something as simple as doesn't quite put in enough effort, doesn't quite get something, and there's a hitch in their game. I can go through our whole lineup and show you guys who at first glance people may go, maybe if you see him on the right night, gosh, that kid could probably play up, and watch him for 3 or 4 games, and you're more than likely you'll find where that little flaw is if they're not quite there.
Well, certainly a shutout's got to really help his mental game. Taking about 30 shots for the 3 periods.
Well, yeah, the last game, you guys outshot them score sheet wise, 51-31, but 24 shots in the first period. You guys put on Missoula. Missoula put 8 on Jet. But let's jump away from this real quick. Game 3 is back in your barn. It's tomorrow, actually, 7:35 at Helena Ice. People can catch that on AW TV. Just go to the AWHL website, and you can watch 2 fun teams to battle out. Now, let's jump to nationals real quick. Only 8 teams are making it to the dance this year, which I think is awesome. I think it's ridiculous the amount of teams they've had in years past, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's been, let me count back, 6 years since it's been this way, and it's about time. It's about time we got back to this is the way it should be.
Why the change this year?
I honestly don't know, and I haven't asked that question. And Butsy, he's on the junior council, and a couple other people I know, and I haven't asked that question. But maybe it's just because I'm so grateful that it is just the league winners, and that's it.
You don't rock the boat, man. Don't rock the boat. Don't ask a question, and then they're going to go, oh, yeah, let's bring in 12 more teams. Who's all participating in the Nationals this year?
Rochester going down and not being able to get in because they're the host team.
Yep.
Can I tell you how much that warms my heart? It warms my heart.
You just did.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, so Rochester lost to Del Ducks, right?
Bill Zanaboni. Yeah, absolutely.
That's got to really hurt Rochester. The facility not having the home team in the playoffs or the finals. That's
that's going to be and Minnesota League still drew in the round robin. They still drew the two of the 3 prime time games, and which is fair. I guess that's fair, but. It's really a super unfair advantage if it's Rochester sitting in there.
The last couple of years, it's been Rochester. They've got the big sheet, and they packed the place, or they did until this year. Now, which leagues will be attending Nationals this year?
Well, you've got in the 2 pools, you've got one pool's got the Empire, which is back east, Minnesota, the NA3. They've come back wisely, I think, for them. I think they suffered by not going. And NORPAC, that's one pool. And the other pool, you've got America West, the Eastern States, EJHL South, and the Met. And so it's kind of interesting to me because, I would like to think that it's a blind draw on how they put the pools together, but you really have almost 2 distinctive types of play in each pool. It's basically the A-Dub and 3 groups off of the East Coast. So that's going to be high-flying North-South hockey.
Oh, yeah. Now,
and then 3 of those 4 leagues bang bodies and take penalties at an ungodly rate.
Do you guys know who you're playing? I mean, not team-wise, but what league A-Dub will be playing and NORPAC will be playing?
Yeah. Actually, you can go to on the USA Hockey site, and it's up there.
Okay.
And we got to navigate through it. But, I know, well, and that's in your pool. You play within your pool. So say America West will play Eastern States, EJ South. We don't know which teams, what leagues, but
right.
Eastern States, EJ South, and the Met. And last year, Atlanta and Long Island, Long Island, the 2 teams that made it to the finals, Long Island played in the Met, and Atlanta's out of the EJ South. So, if you get there, really the bottom line is if you get there and you win it, you should be able to beat all of the other 7 teams that are there. So it shouldn't matter who you have to play when you have to play. You line up and you play, and hopefully you play your best.
When you guys won the Nationals, is that the year you made it as a wild card?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And you won the Nationals from the wild card slot.
Yeah, because they had 3 pools, 12 teams, 3 pools. And so the 3 winners of the pools got in, and on our, what would have been our Sunday night game, Game 3, we lost 4-3 to Walpole, which, and I'll say it, and I think most everybody who was there agreed that probably the 3 best teams of that year were, I believe, us, Boise, and Walpole. And I think that us and Walpole had a little edge on Boise that year. And then as the wild card, we turned around, and who do we have to play in the crossover? Well, Walpole again.
I remember that.
And we stayed up all night and watched, the same game 18 times, and finally found just one little adjustment that we made in our special teams, and it really made the difference for us. And came back and beat them in the semis, and then just rolled over El Paso's, and the dance was over for Cinderella there. Not taking anything away from El Paso. Herman rolls out great teams every year, and that year I don't think it was one of his stronger teams. I think Corey would agree with that, but he had a goalie, Casper, that was playing out of his mind. Kid was stopping 70, 80 shots a night, and then finally he just got tired, I think, in that final game.
Well, when you face that many shots, and you have no choice. I mean,
that short amount of time,
you're going to let down. Yeah. And it's kind of that, though. The Nationals, sadly, is not that marathon technology or mentality. That is a sprint. You have to come out strong and hot, or you're done.
Every single game.
Yeah, everyone. You can't. There's no gimme game. There's no lax games. If you're not there to play from day one, you're done.
Not only that, if you line up against somebody who's weak, you can't have mercy.
No,
because it goes right into you start getting into tiebreakers. It's goals for minus goals against. You've got to play all 60, and you've got to keep putting the puck in the net. And if you can, you need to put 15 on somebody. And the people who are there, that have been around, they get it. But every once in a while, if one of those games does happen, and it's rare, but you'll get the odd parent calling you names or whatever. But you have to go. You have to go.
I wanted to ask AJ, what does it do with Rochester not making it there for the fan base? I mean, outside of the games that where Rochester was playing last year, were there big crowds? Or were you pulling people in?
No, not really. I mean, I'm going to say 400 people, maybe 400 or 500 people. Last year, the year before, it was kind of funny, and I guess it's just hype. But I remember the year before, the first year they had it in Rochester, and we played Rochester opening night. And oh my God, I mean, they were the press out there. It's fun because the press out there is great. You're on the news. It's kind of like being in Montana. You're in the paper. You're on the news. It's a big thing there, and they were going, oh God, we're probably going to have to turn people away. Well, they didn't have to turn anybody away. The place wasn't nearly as packed as they thought it was, but it was a good crowd. I'm going to say probably 1,800 people for that first night out. And our guys, it was funny because one of the local reporters came to us and talked to us before that game and said, well, how do you think you guys will do with a big crowd and intimidating? We play in front of crowds like this all the time, and we kind of thrive on it, and we did. It was great. I mean, the people, like I think they call them the Hawk's Nest or something. They sit up behind your bench, and we thrived on it. We love that.
But you're used to that. If you had a team like, and they did back in the day when NORPAC would send teams there, and they're used to playing in front of 50 people, and then all of a sudden you got 400 or 500 people there. I think that would be kind of intimidating. Yeah, we definitely wanted to get the input on the AW, and just to remind people once again, the Maulers are visiting the Bighorns tomorrow night, 7:35 Mountain Daylight Time. They're at Helena Ice, and then we have the Quake going to the Wild, 7 p.m. at Campbell County, again Mountain Daylight Time. Since we're in the Pacific side, that's 1 hour ahead for those of you in the West Coast. AJ, always a pleasure, my friend, and we're going to be catching up to you as the playoffs go on, and we'll be watching how the weekend winds up. You guys could wrap it up tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think that's a hope and a prayer, but hopefully by the end of the weekend we can get through this first round. So
I'm sure you guys are going to be fine.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Thanks
we'll talk to you soon.
for all you do. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
AJ Reis right there on the line of BS. Always fun to catch up with AJ and to find out what's going on there. We're going to take a real quick break, compile some paperwork, because, we always get confused when we have to talk to someone on the phone. We're going to be back in just a few minutes right here, Night Ranger. You can still rock in America, and you can rock right here, Felony Flats, every Thursday night on the Pirate Radio Network.
Proof that minimal education produces minimal results. Here they are once again, the BS Boys.
Oh, yes. Back once again here, the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show, 971-258-2840. If you'd like to give us a call off the air, you can always leave a message. You want to email us, bsboys@live.com, boys with a Z, just to confuse you, bsboys@live.com. Finally, we've got the Western States playoffs beginning tomorrow night.
Well, they actually started tonight with the Snipers and the Brahmas.
Well, outside of our division.
Yeah, Brahmas took the Snipers 5-2. Tomorrow night, Friday night, we've got the Gulls and the Monsters, 4:45 puck drop. Oilers versus the Ice Jets at 7 p.m. The Stampede versus the Bison. Then we've got Seattle heading over to Idaho to play the Steelheads. Valencia Flyers playing the Bay Area Seals. The Knights are playing the El Paso Rhiners. And then Friday night, Mustangs versus the Spartans.
Did you call them the Rhiners?
Rhinos.
Yeah, that's a Texas twang right there. They're playing the old Rhiners. Hey, Jack. So we do have the playoffs finally beginning. One game tonight, but in the division we cover, the Northwest Division, tomorrow night is a big night. Seattle is rolling over to Idaho. Boy, oh boy. It's going to be tough. That's a tough place to play. And Idaho has been rock solid all year, losing, 2 games, undefeated on the road. They're playing at home. Seattle's really got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, they do. It hasn't been a typical Seattle season, as we talked about before, up and down. But, they have been playing pretty good as of late. But it's going to be tough for them to do anything over there in Idaho against the Steelheads. Yeah,
Seattle, I don't know if they've been playing well as late. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. Fink has appeared in 37 games this year. He's got a 3.02 goals against, 93% save average, 13-2-5. Not a great record, but the kid is there every night. He shows up. He works hard. It's just one of those transition years when they left NORPAC into the Western states. Seattle has to find a new rhythm.
It's a big step. It was a big step up for them.
Big step. And it's a huge step up from NORPAC, the Western states. I don't know if anybody realized how big that step would be, but it was a monster.
Well, and they lost quite a few players that they were expecting to come back too, at least a handful that I can think of, right? And without some of those players who were very good players and put points up on the board, played in the net, it was tough for them to backfill those spots.
Idaho's 10-0 in their last 10, which is not surprising. They've had, like I said, a phenomenal year. Last time Seattle was in McCall, they lost 6-1, 7-1, 6-0, so they were swept back in the middle of February. Idaho is 6-0 over Seattle this year so far and has outscored Seattle 36-8 in the 6 games they've met. So, if you're a numbers guy, that series is over.
Well,
without even playing it. But
this is a different season. We have to wait to see what happens tomorrow night.
They play the game for this. They go all year long to get in the playoffs, and those numbers go away. And any good coach is going to throw those numbers out. It's day one right now as Seattle invades McCall. So that game tomorrow night on FastHockey.com. It's going to be, I'm kind of looking here. I'm not really sure. I pretty much think Dallas is going to come out of the Midwest Conference. I think El Paso probably should come out of the Mountain Conference. The big question, 2 of them, but the Pacific Conference, Fresno finished number 1. But if you look at the standings, second place has 56, which is Bay Area. Third place has 53, which is Valencia. Fourth place has 52, which is San Diego, which really didn't make the playoffs until the very last few games. So it's going to be a really tough call as to who's coming out of the Pacific. The big question that we care about is who's coming out of the Northwest Division other than Idaho. Idaho, their ticket's punched. They're there. They're in the Thorn Cup. Now it's who's going to take that extra spot?
Well, if I'm going to call it, just the way that Southern Oregon has been playing on paper by numbers, I think Southern Oregon can take it. But Ogden Mustangs, if they come in strong and take Southern Oregon 2 out of the 3 games, I think that they're going to end up, on that trip up to Idaho.
Well, if they take 2 out of the 3, they are going
there. Yeah.
All 3 games will be played in Southern starting tomorrow night. Now, this is a little different look Spartan team that that wasn't around when they actually played Ogden early in the season. Since this is pre-14 player trade, this record 3-3, both teams went 2-1 in their own barns. That was pre-14 player trade at the Christmas break. So Ogden has not seen the new version, I guess we can say, of Southern. Southern outscored Ogden 28-25 in the regular season. Southern, again, down at home in the 3 games, outscored them 14-11. Very close. Again, pre-player, 14-player trade. So I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Buckley is 2-2 against Ogden. He's got a 21-12-1 record, 3.17 goals against, 91% save average. Falica, good season. Played very, very well. He was 3-2 against Southern. He was 1-2 at Southern, though. So that madhouse literally is a madhouse. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be loud. Probably going to sell it out at least Friday and Saturday night. And Saturday night, the BS boys will be down there broadcasting with Tom and Dave.
Tyler Falica's got a 3.9 goals against, 89% save average, won 12-13-1-4 this year. Ogden is 2-8 in their last 10. Southern is 6-4 in their last 10. Again, very closely matched. Got to find out what team shows up and see who puts the puck in the net. I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not really going to predict anybody coming out of this just because it is so close. Buckley has been the workhorse for Southern all year. 35 games this year. Falica has played 31. And who do you think led the league in most games played? Well, Fink. Okay, I'll answer it since.
I was going to say probably Fink because of Buckley not being up there this year.
Yeah, those two, kind of swapping back and forth when they both had, when they were both in Seattle. Now, here's sort of the playoff thing, so people know. This is kind of the way it goes. Clear my throat. Let's see if I can remember this. Second place team out of the Northwest Division will be going to the Thorn Cup since Idaho's ticket is punched.
Right.
There will be 5 teams. It'll be the 4 teams that win each one of the conferences plus the 5th team from the Northwest Division. Whoever takes second gets the bid to go. Then they have a wild card team, which has not been picked yet. So there's 6 teams going to the Thorn Cup over in McCall. They all play Thursday, Friday. All 6 teams play.
Yep.
Then the semifinals, which are the top 4, play Saturday, and then those winners go on to the championship game Sunday. Okay, so I didn't really see anywhere that the, say other teams get to play other games for, whatever, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. But I'm sure they end up playing a little more than 2 games if they don't make the dance come Saturday in the semifinals. I don't think their Thorn Cup's over. They can't win it, but I think they might play more games. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the Thorn Cup in McCall, Idaho. That is March 27th through the 31st. Right now, this is playoff time. Western States hockey.
And I'm looking forward to it. Not only are we heading down to Southern Oregon Saturday night, but we'll be over in McCall, Idaho for the Thorn Cup.
And then the top 2 teams after the Thorn Cup, they actually advanced to the AAU National Championships, which are going to be held down in Las Vegas the week after. The Thorn Cup wraps up. So those 2 teams get to go down to Vegas for another go around to see if they can win the national championship. So that's kind of the equivalent to the USA Hockey National Championship.
Be a nice time in Idaho, not only in Idaho but down in Las Vegas as well. There could be some teams that are making that trip back home and have to stop for an entire week in Vegas.
Could be. So that pretty much wraps up the entire playoffs for the NORPAC A-Dub and the Western States. Once again, this is the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show. Come next Thursday, tickets will be punched. There will be winners coming out of this coming up weekend, as it's 3 back-to-back. Friday, Saturday, if Game 3 is necessary, they will play that on Sunday. So we will know by next Thursday, and probably a lot sooner if everyone's following this on Point Streak and Fast Hockey. They'll know who is moving on to the next round.
It makes it easier for us with the less teams involved.
Yeah, it really does, because it makes it, less information that we have to try to memorize and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of wrap it up for us here at the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show from Felony Flats, live every Thursday night right here on the Pirate Radio Network. 971-258-2840 if you'd like to get a hold of us. You can send us an email, bsboys@live.com. Don't forget, we're going to be popping down in Medford this Saturday night, hanging out with Dave and Tom down there as the Ogden Mustangs approach the Spartans for Game 2. Game 1 is tomorrow night. You can catch all these games at the Western States level on fasthockey.com. We're going to wrap it up, folks. Time to go home and eat some frozen pizza. Take care.